Brandstorm, the podcast that talks to the people behind America's brands. I'm Dan Trzynski, president of Platypus Advertising and Design.
And I'm Nancy Christopher, PR director at Platypus. So Dan, in the coming future, the techies tell us there's going to be no boundaries between virtual reality, or VR, augmented reality, which is also called AR, or mixed reality, called MR. These three realities are going to come together under one umbrella called extended reality, or XR. Confusing, yeah?
Lots of R's.
Yeah, very confusing. So here to sort it out and talk about how these technologies will impact brands and how they're marketed is XR Futurist Alan Smithson. Alan is also a mentor, author, and the CEO of MetaVRse in Toronto. It's great to have you with us, Alan.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me, everybody.
Okay, so we need a crash course in Reality 101. What's the difference between AR, MR, VR, and now XR?
So I actually, it's very timely because my claim to fame is I wrote an article called The ABCs of R, and it went through every letter of the alphabet. So we won't go there. So to kind of make things simple for everybody, virtual reality is when you put on those weird looking headsets and it takes you to a completely different place. It's like transporting yourself to another world. You can transport yourself underwater or on Mars or, just in your neighborhood block. Shooting zombies, but there's a lot of things you can do when you're fully immersed, and it really takes over your whole senses from your vision to your hearing, and it kind of blocks out the real world. So that's virtual reality.
All right, got it.
Yep. Augmented reality is when you take, your phone and you maybe you hold your phone up and you can see some data overlaid on top of the real world. So you're maybe your Google Maps, stuff like that, where you can kind of point where you want to go and it gives you some arrows. And then mixed reality kind of combines the two and says, okay, what happens if we take elements of virtual reality? Maybe I changed my table into a rock, and maybe my floor is hot lava, and I have to jump from my table to my couch. In mixed reality, it doesn't look like that anymore. So it kind of blends everything together. And then, because it's really one of those things where, VR, AR, MR, everybody just said, okay, let's just call it XR, and that covers all immersive technologies from virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, all of these things, covers everything, and just say XR, and you're talking about immersive technologies, because we're not just dealing with glasses and headsets. We can also be things like projection mapping. That's a form of augmented reality. So there's lots of ways to do this, and they kind of all fall under immersive technologies.
I understand you invented the first VR photo booth. How did you get your expertise in these technologies? That's amazing.
About 20 years ago, I started a DJ company. I started DJing in university, and I really wasn't paying attention in molecular biology class. I was really paying more attention to music and that. And I ended up becoming a DJ for a long time, got really excited about tech and the convergence of tech and DJ and music. And we invented the Emulator, which was the world's first multi-touch application for Windows and DJs and musicians to create music using a giant see-through touchscreen.
Wow.
And yeah, it was amazing. We got to work with huge brands and big artists like Linkin Park and Infected Mushroom, Armin van Buuren. So it was really a wonderful experience. But we also got to see virtual reality for the first time years ago in 2014. And it was one of those aha moments like, oh my God, this is the future of everything. And from there, we got into virtual reality, and we didn't know what we're doing, so we did everything. So I figured in order to become an expert in the subject, why would I do one little thing when we could do all the things? So we did everything from 360 videos, AR apps, virtual reality training. We're working on the XR Learning Center right now. We just got accepted to the accelerator at the Museum of the Future in Dubai. So we're doing a ton of different projects and really inventing our way to the future. And how we came across the VR photo booth was actually a combination of my DJing and events world mixed with 360 video. So we were filming some events while DJing. And one of the things I filmed was I took a photo of a group of people in a circle standing under this beautiful lamp. And it turned out really great, except for it was a bit dark and grainy. And so everybody didn't look crisp. And I thought, well, how could we light it up? So we invented a lighting column to light up 360 photos and videos. And then I said, well, maybe, a pretty lamp won't be there next time, or chandelier rather. And maybe people want to be photoshopped somewhere else. So we actually invented the photo booth to put you on the moon if you want. And so,
wow.
Yeah. And
I am so impressed, Alan. I really am.
Thanks.
So as a futurist, do you see this as a trend?
Well, I think up until now we've seen a lot of the trendy part of it, and I think it goes with all new tech. It's tech people trying to prove that the tech works first, and
Correct.
then you have brands and marketers trying to use this new tech as gimmicky ways to get people to pay attention to their brand, and then you have this phase of utilitarian, and I think we're just kind of starting to scratch the surface on utilitarian uses. Something like IKEA has an app called Place where you can see any of their furniture in your house in AR in the real sizes. So you can say, oh, well, that couch doesn't fit. Clearly, it doesn't. It's sticking out the walls. So there are these utilitarian use cases that are going to start to come and allow people to make better buying decisions and allow brands to better connect with their customers. And one of the things that we're seeing is a shift to three-dimensional everything. So Facebook announced 3D assets, so you can now have your shoes in 3D or sunglasses or shirts or whatever, have your products in 3D directly on Facebook ads. And then recently, Snapchat has kind of entered into this as well. And Snapchat has millions and millions of under 30-year-old consumers, and they're just voracious for new content. And Snapchat is really pushing the limits of what you can do with a mobile phone.
So, what is the current penetration of AR or VR devices? Is it all about having this on a smartphone, or do you have to have one of those headsets in order to make this stuff work for you?
So I think what you're going to see, and this is the trend that I'm seeing right now, is virtual reality is wonderful for a lot of things. It's great for sales centers. Let's say, for example, you're IKEA and you want to show people 16 different kitchens, and you want to have them change the kitchen doors and the floors and the countertops and the taps. Well, that's a great experience because you're in VR. You can stand in your kitchen. You go, this is what my dream kitchen feels like, right? Whereas AR is, I'm at home and I want to see what the new tap's going to look like or the new fridge is going to look like. And I can just place that in my home without, totally renovating my whole home. Another difference between the two is, virtual reality can be used for training people. And Lowe's is using virtual reality right now to train people on how to do things like tile the bathroom. And so they have this virtual reality experience where you got to mix the mortar and then you got to scrape it on, stick the tiles on, and really getting people comfortable on home renovations. And so that's a training aspect. So I think what you're going to see in the next kind of 3 to 5 years is this uptake in sales and marketing uses of VR, and then also training. But the real big growth potential, in my opinion, is mobile-based AR. By the end of 2018, we'll have 1.6 billion devices that will be AR enabled. That's a lot of phones. And so that's an untapped market. And in China, you're in the trillions of dollars in mobile e-commerce every year. And, North America is still really slow to catch on to mobile e-commerce, but companies like, Amazon and Walmart are really making that push towards mobile e-commerce. And that's where our sweet spot is. And we're calling it V-commerce, the intersection of virtual and augmented reality for retail and e-commerce.
So, Alan, what kind of investment or equipment is needed to, produce a VR experience?
Sure. A VR experience can range from anything from a 360 video, fairly inexpensive to produce. Car companies have been using this really well to kind of showcase what it's like to be driven in their car, but it really doesn't give you that immersive experience where you are driving the car. So there's what they call 3 degrees of freedom, meaning you can look up, down, left, and right and kind of look around your space, and that's called 3 degrees of freedom. And then, you can look left, right, up, down, and then move in those spaces. So you can actually move in Z and X and Y space, and that's called 6 degrees of freedom. And making experiences for both of those are on the kind of opposite spectrum of costs. So if you were to make, let's say, a 360 video where you're just putting a camera in a car and driving around with it, that could be anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000. If you're making a full-on motion simulated experience where the car is moving exactly how it would in real life, you could be talking in, $500,000 to a few $1,000,000. And so there's really a broad range. And then, mobile AR can be as inexpensive as, $10,000, $20,000 to, make a label come to life. Or, other companies are using it to make their, extend their product marketing. So there's a company called 19 Crimes. They make a beautiful wine out of Australia. And one of their story was about these people on the wine bottle. And, these criminals that were, these 19 crimes. And if you point your phone at it, it tells a story from the label of the label comes to life and this guy starts talking. So there's really some amazing use cases of this coming.
That's so cool.
So what kind of device does a customer need to experience this? I see the headsets, and I think Google sent one out. It was like a cardboard box at one point,
Yep.
and then you stuck your phone in it. What should somebody be looking at to get, if they really want to get into this and experience it, what should they be looking for?
So a consumer can experience VR as small, something as low as just their computer and their phone, using kind of 360 videos to pan around. Then you kind of move up to a Google Cardboard, which can cost anywhere from $10 to $20, which is a pair of lenses in a cardboard box that you put your phone in, and it uses the onboard phone technology to do that. Then you move up one from there to like mobile phone-based virtual reality, which would be like a Gear VR or a Google Daydream, where you still stick your phone in, but it's a nicer cardboard box. It's made out of fabric. And then, up from there, you've got standalone VR, which, the Oculus Go, and then HTC Focus and the Pico Neo. These are all kind of standalone virtual reality headsets. You don't need to stick your phone in anymore. And then the next step up from that is the HTC Vive and Oculus Rift and PlayStation VR, where you can actually move around in three-dimensional space. So there's broad range from $10 up to, a few thousand. So.
And how long do you think it will take before all this becomes pretty commonplace?
So Apple's in this, and they're in it very quietly. And I think when Apple decides to introduce Apple glasses, this will go mainstream. And my guess, timeline-wise, is between 5 and 7 years out. I think the physics behind what needs to happen to miniaturize a pair of glasses that you're comfortable wearing all day long, I think we're a long way out from that. Mm-hmm. And what we're seeing now is, Apple and the developers don't even know how to develop for it yet. So what you're seeing now is Apple and Google have released their developer kits so that you can use all the technology that's in a mobile phone as if it was AR, as if it was a pair of glasses. And so what that's doing is training developers around the world to start developing and thinking in terms of 3D.
And how is artificial intelligence, or AI, going to impact this technology?
So I think AI is a broad term for, computer vision and machine learning. So, both of these things are very vital to mixed reality, because as much information as you're projecting on somebody's display, and, 5G comes in here as well, where you've got to project an enormous amount of data in 3 dimensions. But as much data as you're projecting back to the user, you're actually collecting from the real world. So all the AR headsets, the mixed reality headsets that will come out over the next 5 years, they will actually be collecting point cloud data, meaning it's sending infrared data, infrared beams out to the world, and mapping the entire world around you real time as you're doing this. So AI needs to distinguish between a dog, a cat, a car, a sidewalk, a person, and there really is going to be no delineation between augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, AI, IoT, quantum computers, 5G. It'll just be computing.
Blows my mind.
So you mentioned IKEA, but can you give us other examples of brands that have successfully executed virtual reality campaigns as it relates to marketing their brand? Who's out there at the forefront of this stuff?
Yeah, so I think, like I said before, Lowe's has been doing an amazing job at that. I'm sorry if you hear clicking in the background. I actually do a talk called 109 Ways Companies Are Using XR Right Now. And so I figured I'd just kind of scroll through that list because,
That's okay.
it's there. So, one really successful use case right now is a company out of Toronto called Modiface. And what they did was they invented an algorithm that, again, using machine learning and computer vision, that mapped out your face really, really accurately, very, very much like Snapchat filters or Facebook filters, right, where they put little dog ears on your head. But instead of putting, silly dog ears and a tongue, they actually allowed you to try on makeup real time and take, realistic photographs of what that makeup would look like on your face. And so you can imagine what that will do for online makeup sales, right? It's incredible.
Exactly.
So L'Oreal bought them, and L'Oreal just released last week a bunch of information about how they've seen, 60% increase in mobile shopping conversions since they've implemented this technology. So these are the first real big numbers that we're seeing out of anybody. People have kept their numbers pretty guarded because at the beginning of any technology, you get more, earned media just by making something cool. But, I think L'Oreal is really onto something. Who else has been using this? McDonald's has used VR. A long time ago, they did an experiment where they turned your McHappy Meal into a Google Cardboard. So I'm not sure how sticking a greasy box on my face is something I want to do, but it was a great first idea.
So are schools teaching this to marketing students at all?
Well, I have with me sitting here Maria, our marketing intern, and she's going to school for this right now. Are they teaching you?
Nope.
So I think we're still too early. I contributed to an online course recently, and it's basically VR AR for marketing. I'll send you guys the link to that. But as far as I know, kind of formal education centers are still a little bit behind on teaching this stuff right now.
How does the average advertiser, advertising agency, that's a lot of our constituency here on Brandstorm,
Yep.
how do they find the talent to say, okay, I have this idea, but I have no idea how to produce this? Where do you find these people?
Yeah, it's actually really hard because a lot of the great developers, they're kind of 1 and 2 people shops around the world. And, what we did was we spent a lot of time at developers conferences, meeting, going booth to booth, trying to find who are these geniuses making, all the cool stuff that we're going to be using in the future for brands. We're a bit biased because obviously this is what we do. We advise brands and their agencies on how to do this, but it's really not that easy. My guess is the best thing you can do is reach out to the local VR AR association, Virtual and Augmented Reality Association chapter. And in your city, there's one in almost every major city in the U.S. and Canada. Yeah, reach out to them and say, hey, we have this idea. Who do you think would be the best? Because chapter presidents are pretty in tune with that. And I have to put a plug out there. My wife, Julie, who's also a partner in MetaVRse, she actually just took on the virtual reality, augmented reality association presidency for Toronto. So
Oh, that's excellent. So Dan, actually though, we have Alan. So if we need something, we go.
Absolutely.
We'll go right
You're
to Alan.
going to be the first guy I call.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here to help. This is what we do all day, every day. So we're pretty in tune with what can be done. And if it can't be done, we'll figure out a way to get it done.
And what's the best way to connect with you?
Sure. Our website, MetaVRse, METAVRSE.com, MetaVRse.com. And you can email me directly, alan@metaverse.com. That's ALAN@metaverse.com.
So tell us a little bit about MetaVRse too. What do you offer as far as that kind of consultancy? Is that a fee for service? Are you actually doing programming?
Yeah, so I'll kind of take it back a little bit further because really it comes down to our why. A few years ago, my daughter started a shoe company when she was 10. I helped her, and I realized that the fundamentals of success, like positivity, gratitude, mindfulness, deep breathing, goal setting, financial planning, investing, marketing, and sales, these are all skill sets that any human needs, and we don't teach it at any level. So our mission now, and this is our personal mission, which is obviously extended to our company, is to inspire and educate the next generation of young entrepreneurs to think and act in a way that's socially, economically, and environmentally sustainable. So with that mission in mind, MetaVRse does 2 things. We have XR for education, and with that, we're working with the Museum of the Future and the Ontario Science Centre to build out the XR Learning Centre. And on the other side, we have XR for business, and we focus really on v-commerce solutions, taking virtual and augmented reality for brands to promote their products. And we do that through mobile e-commerce and VR and AR, all of the things.
Well, Alan, I can't tell you how fascinating and interesting it's been to have you on Brandstorm. It's terrific.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being our guest.
It's been my honor.
Okay, and if you like what you've heard today, please don't forget to share, review, and subscribe to Brandstorm.
This is Dan Trzynski along with Nancy Christopher at Platypus Advertising and Design, an awesome company that creates perceptions that influence choice for a variety of regional, national, and global brands on a daily basis. We hope you'll join us next week for another episode of Brandstorm.